Welcome back to our study called In Sin and Error Pining. Today we're looking at chapter 19, verses 23 through 28. And we're talking about how God is the perfect judge. Now, we've already said that there's condemnation here. There's judgment here by God. And the fact is that we already stand condemned. You know, we finally have come to this last section here where we see God's judgment against sin. We finally get to the destruction part. In verses 23 through 25, we read of the destruction of the cities and the valley. Everything in it is gone. God is not slow to bring the judgment, as some might think. Remember that when Jesus came, he said that he would not come into the world to condemn the world, but to save. Why? Because the world already stood condemned. The trial was over. The verdict had been read. Condemnation and destruction were already pronounced. When was that done? When Adam and Eve sinned. So all their descendants were already tried and found guilty. That's the condemnation. That's the curse. So Jesus did come to condemn no one, because no one had already received the death sentence. He didn't come to condemn because everyone was already condemned. So he didn't need to do that. You know, mankind as a whole was already sentenced. They already had their death sentence. And so the reason why they're still living and still existing is because of the mercy of God. So that's the first part. We see the destruction of the cities. It's complete, total destruction. Everything is gone. Nothing is left. And what God said came true. His judgment and His wrath were poured out, just like He promises. But we got to remember, we can't look back to that. We can't look back to the world, the things that we leave behind when we come to faith in Christ. So we see here also in verse 26, the death of Lot's wife. She looks back to Sodom. Even as they're arriving in safety at Zoar, she looks back. I mean, she's almost there to safety, but she looks back. Her heart is still back at her home in Sodom, and she is incinerated like the rest of the inhabitants. She stands, according to Jesus in Luke 17, as a warning to those who love this world and do not heed the warnings. On the day that the Son of Man is revealed, one will be left like Lot, and another will be taken like Lot's wife. We must be amazed at salvation. At the end of this part of the story, we see in a cinematic way our friend Abraham climbing back to the spot where he talked with the Lord. As he looks down and he sees the smoke, like the smoke of a furnace. Abraham had asked if there were 10 righteous people in the cities, then would they be spared? Abraham received his answer. There wasn't any. There was only one. We must ask the question, why was Lot saved? God is merciful. And the other answer is because of Abraham. That's right, God used Abraham's prayer. It says God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had lived. God remembered Abraham's prayer to him, is asking, will you spare the cities if there's 10 righteous people? God said, yeah, I'm merciful. That's why you're asking that. And so the answer came. There wasn't 10. And the cities had to be destroyed. Abraham's prayer was how God graciously spared Lot. He said, yeah, I'm merciful. You prayed for 10. There was one and I spared them. I did exactly what you said. It's not the only place that we find this. In the story of Job, Job would pray for his friends, and God said he would hear Job's prayer and spare them. It's interesting because God is talking to Job's friends, and He's saying, you know what, Job's going to pray for you in a minute here, and I'm going to hear that prayer, and I'm going to listen to Job, and then I'm going to spare you. It's interesting how God has already planned to spare them, but He's going to use Abraham's prayer as the means by which they're spared. That's how God did. He said He would use our prayers. He said He wants to hear our prayers, and He's already got them in His plan. It's pretty amazing how He's worked all that out. But that's the clear case, especially in Job's case, that God's telling him, I'm telling you the future right now, that Job's going to pray for you, he's going to sacrifice for you, and I'm going to hear that, I'm going to accept that, and then I'm going to forgive you, and you won't be destroyed because of your foolishness. That's what he says to them. So, it's all in God's plan, and it's good, it's cool how he does that. So the question is, do we as Christians have this heart of prayer? Do we want to see the light spread in this dark world? Do we really want that? Do we want to be like Abraham and see that the city might be destroyed because of the 10? Do we want to see that happening? And Abraham prayed and Lot was spared. Abraham prayed for the righteous. Spare the righteous, Lord. I know you will do that. If there's 10, you won't destroy the city because there's 10 people living in that city. God says, no, I won't. And so he pulls out Lot, the one righteous, and there's nothing left in the city. There's no righteous. There's no one righteous left in the city. And so the city's destroyed. Just like God said.